This is the Patagonia R1 Pullover Hoodie, a legendary mid-layer refined for the modern mountain athlete with smart fabric mapping, minimalist design, and a serious performance pedigree. Weighing just 10.2 ounces, the R1 pullover keeps things light, packable, and ready for any objective. It combines durable, stretchy, and breathable Polartec Power Grid fabric with strategically placed Kathleen thermal weight panels to cut bulk and maximize warmth where it counts. This hybrid design isn't just warm, it's built to move. Whether you're reaching high on a route or grinding out vertical gain, the outstanding stretch and mobility will never hold you back. Up top, a low-profile hood made from Kathleen thermal weight fabric offers warmth and visibility and fits cleanly under a helmet. Along with this, the deep front zipper gives you fast venting when the pace picks up. And the offset shoulder seams, low-profile thumb holes, and longer torso make it ideal for clean, layered comfort under a harness or pack. And of course, this product is fair trade certified. As for sizing, the R1 pullover is a slim fit. I wear a size medium, and I'm 6 foot with a +4 ape index, and this is how it fits on me.
So this is the new R1, and this is actually a piece that I feel kind of conflicted on. And that's pretty rare because normally every piece that comes out from Patagonia, whether it's a new piece or updated piece, I've always said that it's for the better, or this is the best thing, or anything like that. Well, except for the Super Free Alpine jacket. That one I wasn't too stoked on. Anyways, this is a piece that is weird because I've owned, I think, 3 generations of the R1. And this is the first time where I don't know if I'm fully on board with the new R1. I think it's great, and I think it does a lot of things really well, but it doesn't feel like an R1 anymore. And why do I say that? Well, this piece is mostly Kathleen thermal weight. I mean, the only sections that are actual R1 is the chest and the arms going down to here and the shoulders, but everything else is Kathleen thermal weight. So for me, this feels like a Kathleen thermal weight pullover with a hint of R1. It doesn't feel like the true R1 that even the last generation I felt like was more a perfect refined version of the R1, because the previous generation only had Kathleen thermal weight in places where, you know, you had a lot of like moisture buildup, like whether it be through a harness, through backpacks or whatever, but it still had a lot more R1 to it. Whereas, like I said, this one is mostly Kathleen thermal weight. Now, that's not a bad thing per se too. Like, this keeps the R1 much more breathable, much more lightweight, and it kind of stretches more too, which is kind of nice. But I feel like the whole thing about R1 is that R1 is super warm, it's super versatile, and it just works well. Like, it has been a thing that's been around for, I think, 20 years, or maybe over 20 years, probably over 20 years. So it's been around for a long time, and they haven't changed it this much. And it feels just like a drastic change. But again, that's not to say that it's a bad thing. I'm not saying that the change is bad. I think overall, this R1 is probably the R1 that I'll be wearing a lot more because it is more breathable. That is one thing that I've noticed with my previous R1s, is that they run warm, which in the wintertime, great. It's a perfect system. But for like spring use and summer use and early fall use, when it's pretty warm out, I don't really touch my R1s because they're too warm. Whereas this, because it is mostly Kathleen thermal weight, it breathes so much better. I mean, this feels very similar to the Kathleen thermal weight pullover hoodie that I have, and I like that piece, and I am starting to wear this R1 more than my previous versions of the R1. So there is that. And in terms of, like I said, breathability, this beats the previous version of the R1 in every version of the R1 by miles because it's just using a lighter fabric and a more breathable fabric, while it still uses R1 material in the places where you need that extra bit of insulation, like in your core or your shoulders. So this R1 might be a more practical version of the R1. It might have more use cases than the previous version of the R1. But I would still say that even the previous version of the R1 had more features that I liked more than this one. I even feel like the fit of the previous one was a little bit better. This one feels a little bit more looser, which it's not bad for fit, but I liked how the other version of the R1 had elasticized cuffs and elasticized hem. It just felt like the piece was staying in place, whereas this one feels much more loose, which again, it's not the worst thing. For casual use and for casual wear, it's great. And even for a lot of other things, it's great because it just kind of moves with you without kind of getting moved up. But I personally just like the elasticized hem and elasticized cuffs more than this one. One of the big areas that I'm concerned about with this R1 is the durability. This feels so much lighter than the previous version of the R1. And like I said, is that necessarily a bad thing? Well, no, because if you have a lighter piece, you're going to be more up to taking that piece with you when you are counting grams. Like, this is definitely a lot lighter than the previous version of the R1 and previous versions of the R1. But the problem that I see is in an environment like this, if you're trying to bushwhack through, I can see that this piece is going to get ripped up so fast. I mean, the fact that with a lot of the capilene thermal weight stuff, you can see right through doesn't inspire me with a lot of confidence. And I felt like that was the nice thing about the previous R1 and previous versions of the R1 is R1 felt like it was more burly. Like it feels like it would survive a bushwhacking, and it has because I've done it with the previous versions of the R1 and it works. And like, even when it comes to things like ice climbing and dry tooling, I'm much more worried about snagging this piece on the rock face and on my picks or anything, like even screws, I think would put holes in this piece. Whereas I've done ice climbing and dry tooling and rock climbing in my other version of the R1, and it holds up. It's durable. And so I don't have the same durability confidence with this version of the R1. And now, but is that the trade-off though? And it is, because it is way lighter than the previous version of the R1. So it's that, like, it's this whole give and take. Like you're getting benefit in one area. It's much lighter, it's much more breathable. That's great. It's not as warm and it's not as durable as the previous version. That's just the trade-off. And maybe that trade-off makes sense in the big picture. Because if you look at the R1 lineup now, I mean, you have R1 Tech Face, you have R1 Air, you have R1 Thermal, and you have the new R1. It does kind of make sense because R1 has just grown so much, where R1 Thermal is kind of the more durable, warmer R1. Same thing with Tech Face. It might not be the warmest, but it's the most durable. But then if you have something like R1 Air, you have pretty durable fabric, but it's super breathable. And you've just seen how R1 has grown, and it might make sense why the new R1 pullover is so different, because it's just changing things, and maybe this is a different category that the R1 is trying to hit now. I mean, as a pullover that's going to take the edge off and is going to move with you and breathe with you, this R1 is great for that. It's better than the previous version of the R1 for those things. But if you're comparing like apples to apples, old R1 versus new R1, the old R1 had much more capability to it, whereas this one is more specialized. But in a range of R1 products where you have a lot of choices, it does make sense why this R1 is like this. So overall, I do think this new R1 is good. I've been using it a lot more. I've enjoyed using it a lot. I mean, even in this weather right now, it's perfect. Like, it's kind of cold outside, but I'm pretty warm. And I mean, at the end of the day, that's what the R1 is supposed to do. It's supposed to keep you warm while not slowing you down and overheating you. So in that instance, the R1 is still doing the same job that it's always done, and it does it really well. And if you are looking for a technical fleece that's warm and breathable and that is super climbing inspired and is just going to work with you, you really can't beat the R1.
This is the Patagonia R1 vest, a stripped down, purpose-built layer designed to keep your core warm while keeping weight and bulk to a bare minimum. Weighing just 6.6 ounces, this vest is all about efficiency. It uses a balance of Polartec Power Grid and Kathleen Thermal Weight fabrics, combining breathable warmth with reduced bulk in a design that's dialed for layering. The warmth is targeted where you need it most, around the chest and shoulders, while enhanced venting at the back and underarms dumps heat fast during high output efforts. Thanks to its exceptional stretch, the R1 vest moves with you whether you're climbing, skinning, or pushing up a steep trail. And of course, the R1 vest is fair trade certified. As for sizing, the R1 vest is a slim fit. I wear a size medium, and I'm 6 foot with a +4 ape index, and this is how it fits on me.
So what's it like to use the R1 vest? Well, this vest is interesting because it doesn't do a whole lot. Like, this isn't your feature-rich vest. Like, it doesn't even have pockets. I mean, the only pocket that you have is a chest pocket. So at that level, there's already not a whole lot to this vest. I mean, you do have a cool combination of R1 in the front section and Kathleen Thermal Weight on the sides and back. And I feel like that combination works really well for strenuous activities and high exertion activities. I mean, I've been wearing this vest when I've been doing some longer approaches to get to ice climbs, and I find that it's pretty perfect when I'm just wearing a t-shirt underneath. I mean, you're working hard, but you just want to take that bitter cold bite off just a little bit. And I find that that's what this vest really does. I mean, even right now, it's kind of cold out, and just having this vest to keep my core warm is definitely helpful. It's making me not feel as cold. I mean, even in terms of practicality, this vest will pretty much stretch over anything to accommodate whatever you're wearing. I mean, I could be wearing a puffy and still put this vest over just to keep that extra core temp. And that's where I'm definitely kind of changing my layering system a little bit to include this vest more. And I'd definitely like to include more fleece vests because I think they're really cool for what they do. I mean, being able to ice climb with this, it's awesome because it just takes the edge off a little bit. But even when you're dealing with warmer days, you don't overheat in it because it breathes really well. So overall, this vest is a great piece if you're looking to add one more piece to your layering system, and basically a piece just to take the edge off. I feel like that's what this piece does really well. So if that's what you're looking for, I think the R1 vest will be great.